Yes, this standard SA 720 will discuss it from our audit concise book. Okay, for this there is no PPT. We'll directly discuss this from our concise book. Yeah, SA 720. Now this SA 720 deals with auditor's responsibility with respect to other information. Now you can get it out. What is meant by other information? Now if you see the entities, the companies, they will present their financial statements to the users in the form of an annual report. Okay, there will be this much of book, you will call it as annual report. Now in that annual report, the companies will present financial statements, audit report. Okay, apart from audit report and financial statements, there will be various other information that will be included in this annual report. Okay, that all other information that is included in the annual report apart from the financial statements and audit report is known as other information. Okay, now auditor is having certain responsibility with respect to other information. Okay, see, auditor will not express any opinion on the other information, but since the financial statements and audit report are given along with that other information, auditor has to ensure that the other information is not inconsistent with this financial statements and audit report. Hope that is clear. So for that purpose, auditor should read the other information and he has to check whether this other information is matching with the financial statements and the knowledge that he is already having. Okay, that is the auditor's responsibility as per SA 720. If you see, I have explained the entire SA 720 in just 1 minute. Okay, this is the crux of SA 720. Now see, annual report, the definition of annual report they have given, just now we have discussed, right? The companies, they will give the financial statements and audit report in the form of an annual report. This annual report will contain various other information like the sales growth, various ratios, management report, directors report, okay, chairman's message, like this various information will be there in this annual report. All this information together you call as annual report. Okay, and other information, just now I have told you. Okay, in the annual report, apart from financial statements and audit report, remaining all other information is known as other information. Okay, next, examples of such other information. See, what will be such items that will be included in the annual report? Let's see. Summary of key financial results, capital expenditure segment wise that has been made by the entity, financial measures or ratios, explanation of critical accounting systems and related assumptions, identification of related parties, general description of business environment and outlook. Okay, like this various other information will be included. Okay, if you want, you can just search on the Google for the annual report of Reliance Industries or annual report of TCS or Wipro. You will find, okay, some 300-400 pages of PDF you will find. You can go through it. Okay. Now objectives. What is the objective of the auditor as per SA 720? See, objective of the auditor is to consider whether there is a material inconsistency between what? Between other information and the financial statements. See, other information and the financial statements, or other information and the knowledge that the auditor has obtained during the audit. See, other information and the auditor's knowledge obtained during the audit. Auditor has to check whether there is any material inconsistency between these two. If at all there is a material inconsistency, auditor has to report accordingly. See, respond accordingly. This is the objective of the auditor. Now, obtaining the other information, how the auditor will obtain other information? Obviously, he will ask the management, because management prepares the other information, right? So auditor will discuss with the management, you will prepare annual report. So in that annual report, what information you are giving, then management will respond. We are including this information, we are including that information, like that management will respond. Once management says that, auditor will ask management, before giving that information to the public, you please once give me that information so that I will read that information. Okay, in case of audit of, see, mostly auditor should try to get this other information from the management before the date of audit report. Okay, before the auditor signs the audit report, okay, before that date only, auditor should take this other information from the management and should read this and find out whether there is any inconsistency between this other information and the financial statements. However, in such certain exceptional situations, management might have not yet prepared that other information. In such situations, auditor can sign the audit report, but auditor should take a written representation from the management, asking the management that you should provide me the other information once it has been prepared, before you furnish that other information to the public. Okay, before you issue the other information to the public, you have to first of all give it to me. After I read it, only then you can issue to the public. Like this, you have to take a written representation from the management. See how the auditor will obtain other information. He will, by discussion with the management, will get to know what is included in the annual report, and that will be other information. Now, make appropriate arrangements with the management to what? To obtain in a timely manner, if possible, prior to the date of audit report, all the other information that is included in the annual report. That is the final version of the documents. If in case, see, when some or all of the documents determined in will not be available until after the date of auditor's report, in such a situation, auditor can sign the audit report, but take a written representation that final version of the documents will be provided to the auditor prior to its issuance to the public. Okay, prior to its issuance by the entity. Okay, this way auditor will obtain other information. Now, once auditor obtains other information, what he has to do? He has to read it. Okay, while reading it, what the auditor has to do? Auditor has to see whether this information is not consistent with the financial statement. Auditor has to find out that whether this information is not consistent with knowledge of the auditor that he has obtained. Okay, he has to see that. See, auditor shall read the other information, and while reading, he shall consider whether there is a material inconsistency between other information and the financial statements, or material inconsistency between other information and the knowledge of the auditor. Next, while reading the other information, auditor shall remain alert for indications that other information not related to the financial statements or auditor knowledge might in the audit appears to be materially misstated. Okay, not only this, the auditor should also check other information that is irrelevant for the purpose of financial statements and other information that is not relevant with respect to the auditor's knowledge, whether such a type of other information is also misstated. Auditor has to check this. Okay, not only he should check not only that the other information is not inconsistent with the financial statements and auditor knowledge. Okay, if other information is having nothing to do with financial statements or the auditor's knowledge, even then auditor has to see whether that other information is misstated. Okay, next. Now, if he finds that there is a inconsistency between other information and the financial statement, see, auditor has not yet found misstatement, he just found inconsistency. Okay, not matching. Okay, other information is not matching with the financial statement, or other information is not matching with the knowledge of the auditor. In such a situation, what he has to do? He has to first of all communicate with the management. Management, other information is not matching with the financial statement, other information is not matching with my knowledge. Okay, like this he has to communicate. After that, he has to verify where the misstatement exists. Okay, just because of the fact that other information is not matching with the financial statement, it doesn't mean that other information is misstated. Okay, even the financial statements might be misstated. Okay, other information might be correct only, financial statements might be misstated. That is the reason why both might not be matching. So auditor has to identify where the misstatement exists, whether the misstatement is in the other information, or the misstatement is in the financial statement, or the misstatement is in the auditor's knowledge that he has obtained. Okay, that he needs to identify. See, if auditor identifies that material inconsistency appears to exist, see here auditor has not yet identified misstatement, he just identified inconsistency. Okay, not matching. Then see, he shall discuss the matter with management and he needs to conclude whether material misstatement of other information exists. Okay, whether there is a material misstatement in other information, or material misstatement of financial statements exist, or the auditor's understanding of entity and its environment needs to be updated. Okay, whether he has not properly whether he has not properly gained the knowledge about the entity during the audit. In such a situation, he has to update his knowledge so as to match with the other information. Okay, now in this step, auditor has found out misstatement. Okay, either other information might be misstated or the financial statement might be misstated. See, if the financial statement is misstated, then obviously auditor will ask the management to correct the financial statement. If management doesn't correct the financial statement, then auditor will give modified opinion. Okay, either qualified advisor or disclaimer. That is a separate issue that we have discussed in SS 705. Now, what if there is a misstatement in other information? Then how the auditor will react? That we'll see. Responding when auditor concludes that a material misstatement of other information exists. In this situation, see, if auditor concludes material misstatement exists, then auditor shall request the management to correct the other information. Okay, management, in the other information there is a misstatement, you please correct it. Now, if the management has corrected the misstatement in other information, then auditor will see whether management has actually corrected that other information or not. See, agrees to make the correction, the auditor shall determine whether the correction has been made or not. If refuses to make the correction, auditor shall communicate the same to those charged with governance. Okay, if management refuses to make the correction in other information, then auditor has to communicate to those charged with governance. Okay, higher level authority than the management. Those charged with governance, I have communicated to management that there is a misstatement in other information, but they have not corrected it. You please correct it. If those charged with governance corrects this, then again auditor will check whether the correction has been made or not. If those charged with governance also doesn't correct, then what the auditor will do? Then auditor will see whether this other information has been obtained prior to the date of audit report. Then see, if auditor concludes that material misstatement exists in the other information that is obtained prior to the date of audit report, in such a situation, okay, and it is not corrected by those charged with governance, in such a situation, considering the implications for the audit report and communicating with those charged with governance. Okay, you have to consider implication on your audit report. Okay, because of this misstatement in the other information which has not been corrected by the management, will there be any implication on my audit report? Okay, will I have to give qualified opinion, or will I have to give any adverse opinion, or will I have to refer the uncorrected misstatement of the other information? Okay, the impact he needs to analyze, or he should also check whether he has to withdraw from the engagement because of that matter. See, withdrawing from the engagement where withdrawal is possible under applicable law or regulation. Okay, so this auditor has to do if other information is obtained prior to the date of audit report. Okay, here he can withdraw from the engagement because he has not yet issued the audit report. But in some situations we have discussed, the other information might not be available till the time auditor has signing his audit report. In such a situation, auditor will sign the audit report and he will give the audit report by taking a written representation from the management that management will give the audit report, will give the other information to the auditor before management publishes it. In such a situation, okay, if the auditor finds misstatement in the other information that has been obtained after the date of audit report, in such a situation, what the auditor has to do? See, if auditor concludes that material misstatement exists in other information obtained after the date of audit report, then if other information is corrected, then perform the procedures. Okay, if the other information is corrected by those charged with governance, then happy, you just check whether the correction has been made or not. If the correction has not been made, then you have to take appropriate action in order to bring to the notice of the users about this uncorrected misstatements in the other information. Okay, whatever action you want, you can take, but you have to communicate to the users of the audit report that there is uncorrected misstatement in the other information. See, if other information is not corrected after communicating with those charged with governance also, you have to seek to have the uncorrected material misstatements appropriately brought to the attention of users for whom the audit report is prepared. Okay, next, reporting. Now, if you see in the audit report, you will find a paragraph with the name other information. Okay, or you will find a paragraph with the name auditor's responsibility with respect to other information. Like this, you will find a paragraph in the audit report. You can check. Okay, now in case of listed entities, this other information paragraph will be there because auditor will include other information paragraph in the audit of listed entities if he has obtained the other information or he expects to obtain the other information. Okay, whether he has obtained the other information or he expects to obtain the other information from a listed entity, then he will include other information paragraph in the audit report. But in case of unlisted entity, he will include other information paragraph in the audit report only if he has already obtained the other information. Okay, if he expects to obtain the other information after the date of audit report, then he will not include the other information paragraph in the audit report. Hope that is clear. That is the difference between listed entity and unlisted entity. See, the auditor's report shall include a separate, just a second, yeah, include a separate section with heading other information. Now, for an audit of financial statements of listed entity, the auditor has obtained or expects to obtain other information. In both the situation, you will include other information paragraph. But in case of audit of unlisted entities, auditor has obtained some or all of the other information. Only then you will include other information paragraph. Okay, only if you have obtained the other information, only then you will include. Okay, based on your expectation, you will not include other information paragraph in the audit report in case of unlisted entities. Next, just a second. Next, when the auditor's report is required to include other information, then in this other information section, what auditor will mention? See, following points auditor will mention. What are they? What happened to this? Okay, see, a statement that management is responsible for the preparation of other information. See, auditor will not prepare the other information. Okay, in fact, auditor is also not having any responsibility to give opinion on the other information. Okay, he is just reading the other information in order to ensure that there is no inconsistency between financial statements and other information. That's it. He will not give any opinion on the other information also. So he needs to clearly mention that it is a responsibility of the management to prepare this other information. Okay, next, an identification of other information, if any, obtained by the auditor prior to the date of audit report. Okay, in case of listed entity, in case of unlisted entity, if at all prior to the date of audit report, if he has obtained any other information, he needs to identify that he has obtained this other information, and the other information that he expects to obtain after the date of audit report, that also you need to, okay, that also in case of listed entity, information that is expected to be obtained after the date of audit report. Okay, that also you need to refer in the other information paragraph. Next, statement that auditor's opinion does not cover this other information. This is important. Okay, auditor's opinion does not cover this other information. Auditor will never give his opinion on the other information. Next, a description of auditor's responsibilities relating to the reading, considering and reporting of the other information. Okay, auditor is having responsibility of what? To read this other information. The same he needs to communicate. Next, okay, next, when other information has been obtained prior to the date of auditor's report, then you need to include a statement that auditor has nothing to report, or if he has found out any misstatement, then he needs to include that misstatement in the other information, in the other information paragraph. Okay, if the auditor finds out any misstatement, we have seen first auditor will identify the inconsistency. Based on the inconsistency, auditor, if identifies misstatement in the other information, then such misstatement has to be communicated where? In the audit report, in other information paragraph. Okay, hope this is clear. So by this we have completed the discussion of SS 720